This is Scherzo from Chapter 3 on page 60. This looks a little bit complicated, but I'm going to show you how to learn this in a way that's very easy and very efficient. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the triads that are outlined here. Okay. So it looks a little complicated, but actually, if we look at this, the left hand is just playing E, G, B, and the right hand is just playing C, E, G. They're both in treble clef. And if I overlay it all here, C, E, G, I've written the right hand down here with the left hand so you can see what it looks like there. The hands are actually just in this position, E, G, B, C, E, G. So notice my hands, my thumbs are adjacent to one another. In this whole piece, the hands always move in parallel motion like this, okay? So that's what we're going to get used to, is this kind of positioning. And that's the same for this whole thing. So I don't even need to write these triads out. Just so long as you understand that pattern, you're good to go. And that means that you actually only need to know the first note of each measure. So that's all I'm going to write down. This is an E, then an F, then back to an E, and then to a D. Okay? So let me show you how to play that first line now. So let's start with fifth finger. It's always going to be fifth finger on the left hand. On the middle E, so E, then up, F, E, D, just like that. E, F, E, D. Now go ahead and do the triad. It's always going to be white keys. There are no black keys. Okay, but again, you're just thinking about the bottom note, E. E, F, E, D, just like that. E, F, E, D. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the right hand thumb. That's it. And notice my right hand thumb is right above my left hand thumb. But again, I'm just going to think about the E in the bottom. So E, then I move up, then I move down. E, and down to D. So notice how I'm just really simplifying this, and I'm keeping my hand in the same position. Again, E, F, E, D. Do that a few times until it's easy. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to add the right hand triad, okay, which is just, again, white keys. All right? So again, I'm just moving based on my lower note. E, up to F, down to E, down to D. Do that several times. E, F, E, D. And my right hand is just going to stay right next to my left. So they're moving synchronously like this. All right. So now this pattern actually stays true for the entire piece. So the second line, we have E, D, C, then D. Let's try that. Again, let's try just the bottom note. E, D, C, D. Again, E, D, C, D. Now make it a triad. E, D, C, D. And now add the right hand thumb. But again, just think of the lowest note. E, D, C, D. And then add the triad in the right hand. But I'm just going to follow the bottom note. E, D, C, D, like that. So now let's combine the first two systems, and I'm just going to play it as block chords just like that. Okay? Here we go. E, up to F, back down to E, down to D, back up to E. E, D, C, back up to D. Let's do that again. E, then F, then E, then D, and E, then D, then C, back up to D. So practice that until that's easy for you. Notice how at this point we're just moving in stepwise motion, just in seconds. Okay, measure 9. Again, the pattern continues, but this time we start on E again. We go up to F, we go up to G, and we go up to A. Now it's just climbing up. E, F, G, A. Let's try this hands together as a block chord. You should be fine doing this at this point. So again, the hands are just going to move in parallel motion like that. Here we go. E, then F, then G, then A. Again. E and F and G and A. Okay. The last line, same kind of idea, but this time we have a skip. Here, it goes from F and down to D. So that's the one part you've got to leap over a note. F, then D. Try it with just the left-hand triad. F, down to D. Again. F, down to D. One more time. F, down to D. And now add the right hand, which again, the thumb is just adjacent to the left hand C. So F, and then down to D. And the right hand's going to jump down again so that the thumbs are right next to each other. They're friends. Okay, here we go. F, then D. Let's do that again. Ready and play. F, then D. Then it goes down to C. Like that. Try that last line. F, and D, and C. One more time. F, then D, then C. Now let's try the last two systems. Okay. Measure 9. E, F, and G, and A. Now pinky goes down to F, F, down to D, down to C. Let's do that once more. E, F, G, A, F, D, C. And now we're ready to play the whole song in block chord formation. Okay, and again, you're just thinking that very first bottom note in the left hand. That's your guide note. Here we go. Ready and E, F, E, D, E, D, C, D, E, F, G, A, F, D, C. Again. E, F, E, D, E, D, C, D, E, F, G, A, F, D, C. So do that several times until you're very comfortable with it, and then all we're going to do is we're going to do it in rhythm. The notes are exactly the same, but now we have a little rhythm to go along with this. Now, we want to make sure to count this because we do have an eighth note plus 2/16, and then eighth, so 1, E, and 2, E, and is how we're going to count this. So it'll be 1, E, and 2, E, and 1, E, and 2, E, and and that's typically the rhythm on this. So we'll try the first two systems. I want you to notice a couple things. The hands are always going to be fixed in position, right? So the only thing you have to think about is, well, what fingers am I playing with? So it's always ascending with the left hand, and the right hand plays the root of the chord, and then 3/5. Okay, fingers always the same. On the last measure of bar of the second system, notice the pattern changes and it's quarters. 1, E, and 2. But again, really straightforward. Let's try this slowly. So again, okay, don't get tempted to read each individual note. Instead, just think about the bottom note and move your hand in parallel motion to keep it simple. And then we're going to count. Here we go. 1 E and 2 E and shift up. 1 E and 2 E and shift down. 1 E and 2 E and shift down. 1 E and 2 E and back up. E and 2 E and down to D. 1 E and 2 E and down to C. 1 E and 2 E and up to D. 1 E and 2 E and up. Do that several times. And then let's try the last two lines. But before we do the last two lines, I want to isolate the very last system. So it starts on F. So build your triads. Okay. Here we go. F and 2 and down to D. D and 2 and down to C. 1 E and 2 E and then C. That last note is just a C. Okay. Let's do that last line again. Starting on F. Ready and 1 and 2 and down to D. 1 and 2 and down to C. 1 and 2 and then C. C. And now let's try the last two systems. So remember, measure 9, the left hand's climbing up, E, F, G, A, and then F, D, C. Measure 9. Ready, and E, and 2, and F. F, and 2, and up to G, G, and 2, and up to A, and 2, and down to F, F, and 2, and down to D, D, and 2, and down to C, C, and 2, and C. And now let's play the whole thing from the beginning to the end. Starting from E. Ready, and 1, and 2, and now F. 1, and 2, and back down to E. E, and 2, and down to D. D, and 2, and up to E. E, and 2, and down to D. D, and 2, and down to C. C, and 2, and back up to D. 1, E, and 2, back to E. E, and 2, and F. F, and 2, and up to G. G, and 2, and up to A. A, and 2, and down to F. F, and 2, and down to D. D, and 2, and down to C. C, and 2, and then C. C. And let me demonstrate it at a faster tempo. Its tempo marking is vivo, which means alive or lively. So it's going to sound maybe a little faster like this. 1 E and 2 and 2 and 1 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 and 2 and So work it up with metronome until you get it somewhere around that faster tempo.